All right, let's talk about something that can feel a little, well, a little intimidating when you're in the South African business world. We're going to be demystifying the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, or as you'll hear it, the CIPC. We're going to break down exactly what it is and, more importantly, what it all means for you. So if you're thinking about starting a business, you've probably had that moment, right? You're staring at this mountain of paperwork, and you just feel completely lost. Trust me, we've all been there. It can feel like a maze, but we're going to clear a path through it today.
And that's exactly where the CIPC steps in. But here's the thing. Instead of seeing it as this bureaucratic hurdle you have to jump over, I want you to try and reframe it. Think of the CIPC as your official partner, the one making sure your business is legit, legal, and protected from day one.
Okay, so let's get right into it. We'll start with the absolute basics. What is the CIPC, really? What's its job?
You know, in the simplest terms, think of the CIPC as the government's official, massive filing cabinet for every single business. Its whole purpose really comes down to three main jobs. First, getting your business on the books. That's enterprise registration. Second, helping you keep it in good legal shape. That's maintenance. And third, protecting your awesome ideas and your brand. That's intellectual property protection.
And hey, just a quick, super practical heads up for you. The CIPC has announced that they're going to have some system maintenance and a closure day coming up in December 2025. You're definitely going to want to jot those dates down somewhere so you can plan around them and avoid any last-minute headaches.
Okay, now for the fun part, actually bringing your business to life. This is where your journey with the CIPC really kicks off.
So one of the very first big decisions you've got to make is, what kind of business are you? The two main options are a company or a cooperative. A company, as you'd probably guess, is all about generating profit for its owners, the shareholders. A cooperative, on the other hand, is built to serve the needs of its members. Even their foundational documents are different. A company has what's called a Memorandum of Incorporation, or MOI, while a co-op is run by a constitution.
And you know what? The actual registration process, especially if you do it online, is probably way more straightforward than you're imagining. First, you reserve a unique name for your business. Then you submit your founding documents, like that MOI we were just talking about. And for a lot of standard companies, boom, you can be registered almost instantly. So you did it. You're officially registered. Fantastic. But, and this is a big but, the journey doesn't stop there. Now comes the really crucial part, keeping your business legally healthy and compliant.
Honestly, if there is one thing you remember from this whole explainer, please let it be this: filing your annual returns. It's not just some suggestion, it's non-negotiable. It is the single most important thing you have to do to keep your company alive and in good standing with the law. And they are not messing around with the deadline. For companies, you get exactly 30 business days after the anniversary of your registration to get this done. If you miss that window, penalties start kicking in. Seriously, put this date in your calendar with about 5 reminders. And if you're thinking, what's the worst that could happen? Well, listen to this. This is a direct quote. If you don't file, the CIPC basically says, okay, I guess this company isn't doing business anymore, and they will start the process to deregister it. That means your business literally ceases to exist in the eyes of the law. It's that serious. Okay, so your business is up and running. It's growing, and naturally, things are going to change. So let's look at how you handle those big shifts with the CIPC.
A really common change has to do with ownership, which brings us to the idea of shares. So what even is a share? Well, at its very core, it's just your official piece of the pie. It's your documented claim to a part of the business's value and any profits it might make.
And you've got to love this. The CIPC itself uses the perfect, most brilliant analogy to explain it. There's no need to overcomplicate it. A share is, and I quote, literally like a slice of ownership. It really is that simple. Yeah, let's just stick with that slice idea for a second. Imagine you and some partners are baking a cake. If you brought the flour and the eggs, you own a share of that finished cake, right? Now, if everyone decides that cake is the most amazing cake ever, the value of your slice goes way up. That's how share value works.
But of course, it's not just about who owns what. There are other really critical updates you have to tell the CIPC about. Things like changing who your directors are, making changes to your company's rulebook, that's the MOI, moving your official address, or even changing from an old closed corporation to a company. Keeping them in the loop is key.
All right, so we've talked about the legal structure of your business. Now let's shift gears and talk about the ideas, the magic that makes it special in the first place. Let's talk intellectual property.
The CIPC is also where you go to protect your big ideas. So you've got a trademark that protects your brand, like your name or your logo. Then there's a patent, which protects a totally new invention or a way of doing something. And finally, you have a design registration, which protects how a product looks, its specific shape or appearance. Knowing which one you need is absolutely crucial. And finally, we have to talk about the end of the road, because every business journey eventually comes to an end, whether that's planned or not. So let's look at how you formally close that chapter.
So there are really two main ways a business can close its doors. You've got deregistration. That's for when a company has just fizzled out. It's dormant, has no assets. You can do it voluntarily, or like we saw earlier, the CIPC can force it if you don't file your returns. Then there's liquidation. That's a much more formal legal process for a company that still has assets. It's about properly winding everything down, paying off debts, and sharing out whatever's left over.
But wait, what if your company got deregistered and you're thinking, oh no, I need it back? Well, good news, it's possible. You can reinstate it. You've got to check that its status is final deregistered, prove that it was actually still active when it got shut down, apply online, pay a small fee, and here's the big one, you have to file every single one of those annual returns you missed.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, it all starts to make sense, right? The CIPC isn't just a place you go to register. It's the central hub, the main character in the entire legal story of your business, from the moment it's born all the way to its conclusion.
At the end of the day, getting your head around the CIPC is really about empowering yourself and taking control of your own business destiny. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know the what and the why, what's the very next step you're going to tackle on your own business journey?